concealed carry clothing options. So depending on what your environment is, where you live, what kind of work you do, what event you have to go to, you're gonna have to dress accordingly for those different events, but you still wanna carry your gun. So I wanted to make a video just kind of going over what are some do's and don'ts when it comes to picking the right attire for concealed carry. The first most obvious don't that I wanna make is wearing clothing like this one. Although Angela at Brute Force Arms sent me some super cool swag and I really like this shirt, the back of it's really cool too. The same considerations apply when we're talking about t-shirts like this one from Phase Line Co. Although this t-shirt is amazing and the artwork is all hand done, it is a super cool shirt. I love how it fits. I wear it all of the time. This shirt has two big negatives going against it. One, it really screams that I'm carrying a gun. Two, it's a very light color. The light color will show shadow more and will therefore show the outline of our pistol more. Solid black shirts do a really good job of breaking up the outline of the gun just because they don't show a lot of shadow. So rather than wearing a black shirt that says I'm definitely carrying a gun, let's try something like this shirt says that I am a music fan, maybe with bad taste, but it accomplishes two big important things for me. One, it's all black, which is gonna help break up the silhouette of my gun. But two, it has this big print on it, which also adds to the camouflage of the fact that I'm carrying a concealed gun. Shirts like this will allow me to get away with a much larger concealed carry gun because I'm just not silhouetting it as much. Even though from my perspective, looking down on it, I might still be silhouetting. When you're walking by me in public, it's much harder to see that silhouette because one, you're just looking at what an incredible music taste I have. Look, little side note, Lana Del Rey is actually super dope and I'm like going in way too hard on her right now. I dig Lana Del Rey, but. So there's two big benefits that a shirt like this give us. One, because it's still black, it helps break up that outline because it doesn't shadow. Two, because of the design and print on it, it helps break up and kind of camouflage the outline of the fact that I'm concealed carrying. I'm gonna highlight this later with a different type of shirt that does the best job. But this is a pretty good option. It's also not directly related into the firearms world and kind of removes me from that category when I'm walking around in public. We don't always want everyone to know that we're carrying a gun, partly because that makes us a target for people that do want to do bad, but also not everybody likes guns the way that me and you do, and that stresses some people out. So I don't want to be in the environment causing other people undue stress. So if I'm going to a school event or something like that, I might not pick this exact shirt because I like to dress like an adult, but I probably won't pick a Phase Line shirt or a Glock t-shirt or a Brute Force Firearms t-shirt that says Armed Society. I'll just wear a normal everyday person's clothing because I'm a normal everyday person and I should blend in with that environment. Other considerations when we're talking about t-shirts is we don't want them to be too small because that will give us issues also, especially with printing. But we also don't want them to be too big because we don't want to look sloppy and not put together, and we don't want something that's going to give us extra issues trying to get to our gun. If our shirt's just too big and too sloppy, it's just too hard to get it out of the way to get to our gun. So, moving on from t-shirts, not all environments allow us to wear a t-shirt, and especially times of year, it's a lot nicer to wear something that's long sleeve. It's just warmer. So, my favorite long sleeve option is flannels, and there's two big reasons why I love, well, three. One, flannels aren't super expensive. But the nicest thing with flannels is because of the pattern that is always on flannel shirts, this is working as urban camouflage again. The pattern on my shirt helps break up the outline of my concealed carry gun and again allows me to carry a much larger concealed carry gun because when I do print, it's just harder to see. The other really nice thing with flannel design kind of shirts is that they're typically very short and not designed to tuck into your pants. That makes a big difference when we're trying to conceal draw, specifically on the back. If the back of the shirt has a very long butt, which is typically what you see on like a standard dress shirt, like a nice like polo shirt or like other type of dress shirt, they have very long bottoms to them. That's to keep the shirt tucked in and keep you looking professional. But what happens when we try to draw our gun with a shirt like that is it tends to get caught behind us. So when we draw from concealment with a button up, we have to be much more deliberate about drawing straight up and making sure that the back of the shirt also comes up with the front. With a flannel, you have a lot less consideration as far as like how you draw. You can have a much more natural draw stroke with a flannel just because it's shorter in length on the shirt than a dress shirt like this is. This is just a little too long on the bottom. So one, we kind of look sloppy again, so we don't ever want to look out of place. We want to blend everywhere that we go. But two, it's just not an effective garment to defeat to get to our gun. So the flannel not only hides our gun well, it blends into the like local environment that we're in because it just looks like another shirt that anybody would wear. And it's much easier to draw from concealment than a standard button up. So flannels are a big win. During the wintertime though, when I'm wearing flannels and a lot of the content that I'm producing is me like drawing from concealment with a flannel on, I always get told by people that I'm still drawing faster with a button up than they can do it. And one of that is that I just do a lot of dry firing like seasonally with what outfits I wear for that season. But also, if you feel like the button up is still giving you some issues, some hang-ups, look into the option of pearl snap shirts. I don't know if everybody in the world calls them pearl snaps. That's where I grew up. We call these things pearl snaps. But what a pearl snap is rather than buttons, you have these little pop buttons. That is a massive benefit because if we need to, we can just blow our shirt apart by popping all those buttons and get right to our gun. We don't have to pull the shirt up at all. We can just rip it open and get to our gun. That would also take practice to get good at, but it is a pretty quick way to get to your gun and get your concealed carry garment out of the way. So pearl snaps, big win in my book. Moving on to everybody's favorite hoodies. Big shout out to Whoopee Hoodie for providing me a bunch of Whoopee hoodies that I wear all the time. These things are awesome. Never leave home without your Whoopee again. Whoopee Hoodie. But the thing that I love about Whoopee hoodies the most is the way they're cut. When we're looking at hoodies, again, we need to have the same considerations that we have with our button-ups. If they're too long and too baggy, then we're gonna have some of the same problems. We're trying to draw our shirt up out of the way, gets hooked behind us. So we want our hoodie to be a little shorter than, I don't want to say normal, but we want it short on the length of the body part of it. But we also want this part to be fairly stretchy. That allows us, as we pull, to get the same stretch that we get from a t-shirt from our hoodie. Some hoodies don't do a great job of that. I noticed this more with more adult style, kind of like pullovers, where it doesn't have a hood on it and it's just a little collar, like what you'd wear to go play golf or a business meeting or something like that. Those kind of pullovers I really, really like, but typically those are cut tighter. Hoodies are a little baggier, which is great for concealing our gun. Also, those pullovers typically aren't as stretchy as a hoodie is and can cause issues when we're concealed carrying also. So. When we're picking over garments, we just want to be very deliberate. When it comes to jackets and things like that, that's just going to be a training problem to be able to get your clothing out of the way and then execute your concealed draw like you would any other time. We're just going to flip the jacket out of the way and then get to our pistol. So key considerations for our clothing when we're concealed carrying is we don't want it to be overly tactical, we don't want it to be overly tight, and we also don't want it to be overly large, which equally draws attention to us. We are trying to blend into the environment around us. That is our goal. That is always our goal. All right guys, so that's my take on some considerations when we're talking about how to pick conceal carry clothing. We don't want to be too tactical, we don't want to be too tight, and we don't want to be too overly large to the point that it just hinders us from getting to our gun. But ultimately, the thing that will matter the most and make the most difference is dry firing with whatever type of clothing you wear predominantly, whether that's a uniform that you have to wear for work or whether that's just the style that you have. Being able to dry fire and figuring out the best mechanisms of movement to defeat your clothing to get to your gun will matter more than anything else. So guys, big shout out to Callaway Ballistics for sponsoring the channel. You guys can get 5% off plus free shipping on orders over $200 with code MadMinute. Big shout out to ZevTech for keeping me up with some of the coolest guns and coolest parts for all the Glocks that I own. You guys can get 10% off all ZevTech products with code MadMinute. Big shout out to Diligent Defense Co. You guys can get 15% off all Diligent Defense Co. swag like t-shirts and hoodies so that you guys can have some awesome concealed carry clothing. You guys can get 15% off with code MadMinute. And last but not least, big shout out to Infinite Defense and their Infinity targets. You guys can get 15% off all Infinite Defense products with code TAC15. I want to do a shout out to Phaseline Co. and Whoopee Hoodie. Both companies are veteran run. Both companies have hooked me up with some pretty cool clothing. I like both products. Phaseline Co. is all hand-drawn artwork. His stuff is super cool. And Whoopee Official just makes it to where you never have to leave home without your Whoopee again. And I think that's awesome. So check both those guys out. And finally, check out Dirty Bird Knives. The company is owned by a personal friend of mine. They make the coolest concealed carry blades and full purpose duty blades. You should definitely go check their stuff out. It's super cool. Everything is super high end, all handmade. Dirty Bird Knives have some of the coolest stuff out there. So that's it for all the sponsors. And for you guys, thanks for tuning in again this week. Thanks so much for watching the channel and supporting what I'm out here doing. If you guys have topics or something that you want to see me address, feel free to shoot me a message or drop a comment down below. Check me out on Instagram. That's where I interact with my following a whole lot more than I do on here. Same name, shorter content on Instagram. I also have a Patreon up, and if you click the link in the bio, you can go to my link tree and check out all the swag and t-shirts that I sell on there. I don't sell t-shirts that are like tactical or necessarily labeled to the company. I just sell stuff that I think is funny and that you might like also. That also does a good job of not being overly tactical, so you can use it when you conceal carry. So, same as always guys, remember, it's okay to be dangerous, and I'll see you soon.